Joining us now is Shea Holbrook. Welcome to the show, Shea. How are you?
Donna, I am great. I'm so excited to be on your show.
We met recently and it was really cool. I was like walking down Industry, which is in New York City, and these cobblestone path, and I see this really cool car with a whole bunch of people standing around it, and there you were. So tell us about what's going on. What is this car? Tell us about your association with Mazda. It's really exciting.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, obviously, a Florida girl coming over to New York City to promote this amazing new docu-series. It's a 6-episode docu-series that's going to go live on Prime Video on March 25th, and it's called First to the Finish. First to the Finish, you might think, like, what does that mean? Could that involve race cars? First to the Finish is a female documentary of the women of motorsports. And so I met you, Donna, at the Female Founders Day and the Female Founders Day Collective at an amazing event where we had a car on display. We had a race car on display. The car itself is a Mazda MX-5 Cup car. So I think a lot of the girls that might not know motorsports, and specifically maybe they don't know like the Mazda MX-5 Cup, it resonated with them because it is the product of an OEM car. So I assume, like, Donna and everybody watching, what a Mazda MX-5 is, the coupe. Right. So the Mazda MX-5 platform, it's an amazing car to buy. It's actually even, I think, the top safety pick on the IIHS for 2025. It's a top safety pick car. And we turn these coupes into race cars. So the Mazda MX-5 Cup is an amazing series. It races alongside IMSA, which is the premier sports car racing circuit in the country. So a couple, for those that are watching, you might not know, okay, motorsports, like a blanket, umbrella, effect, right? So what does that mean, and how does that, the categories of motorsports we could even speak about a little bit. So
yeah,
the
let's
Mazda
talk about
MX,
that, because I want to shine a light on you because you are a winner, right? Champion,
yes,
motorsports
ma'am.
athlete. You define yourself
Yes.
more of an athlete than anything else, correct?
I do. I think because I started my career as an athlete. So I grew up very unconventional in sports in general. I was a nationally ranked competitive water skier growing up from pretty much the age of 7 to 15, 16 years of age. I traded in a pair of water skis for a set of wheels, literally. I fell into motorsports through an experience. And so I did a NASCAR experience at Daytona International Speedway, where they have, for example, the Daytona 500. And I was just a passenger. I bought a ride like anybody can in the passenger seat and was completely floored by the experience. And so coming from unconventional sports, racing being another unconventional sport, it's not a typical stick and ball sport. I've just always had this very athletic, fearless maverick mindset about who I am and how I live. I come from also a military background. My dad did 21 years in the Navy, and he was a rescue swimmer. And so very everything we do, we're A-type personality, and it's very sink or swim. We're either we're sinking and failing at it, or we're swimming and we're exceeding in it. And so when I started my career in motorsports, it was super unconventional. I had to become very resourceful when I didn't have resources, and just understanding. I think a lot of athletes, you're an athlete first, and then you become like an entrepreneur and a business owner second. Where in motorsports, I think you actually have to do both at the exact same time to become successful. And the reason for that is motorsports does take funding, and an elevated amount of funding, to compete at the highest levels. So in my career, I was very lucky. I started in the touring car divisions, became a 7-time touring car SRO champion. Donna, I did some cool stuff. I'm actually in the Guinness Book of World Records with another woman named Denise Mueller, who is a bicyclist, and we went 184 miles an hour she was on a bicycle, and I was the drafting vehicle for her to achieve that speed at the Bonneville Salt Flats. And the list goes on and on.
Shea, I read that and I was like, because I was trying to do a lot of research on you and I was trying to learn so much about you. And I read that and I was like, well, that's awesome, because it seems like when, speaking of like being the first at something and things of that nature,
Sure.
none of that bothers you. You just do what you want to do, and you just so happen to be the first at different things, which I also think is really cool about you. And there are different types of racing.
Totally right.
People just think that, okay, they might know about the Indianapolis 500, the Indy 500. I went there as a kid with my family too. Although I didn't
I love
go
it.
to do what you do. But let's talk about some of the different categories. What are some of the categories of racing?
Yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head for sure. So there's different categories. So IndyCar is one. IndyCar in the US is the largest pinnacle platform for open wheel racing. Actually, they're broadcasted on Fox this year. It is going to be a phenomenal series. They're doing an amazing job marketing the sport. The viewership and the fan base of IndyCar open wheel racing is just like as if it was F1. And so they do an amazing job. You'll be familiar, like you said, the Indianapolis 500, where they do 500 laps. It's an incredibly grueling, taxiing race. The physicality and the mental fortitude you have to have in order to be a race car driver, especially at that level, is, whatever your premier sport is, think of that times probably even 100. There's also NASCAR racing. A lot of people, especially Americans, are really familiar with NASCAR racing, the Daytona 500 being the pinnacle of NASCAR racing. And then what actually people, might not be aware of in NASCAR is they also do circuit racing, which is left and right hand corners. And so, for example, in New York, Watkins Glen, there's a beautiful facility where we race at as well. And the cool part about circuit racing, or what we call road course racing, is that's my category and what we do. And so we are road racers, where we take, for the most part, OEM equipment, meaning original equipment manufacturers. So the identification for the consumers, for the fans, whatever you might call it, they can identify with, oh, that's a Mazda. Oh, that's a Lamborghini, a BMW. A Chevrolet. So the connection to the vehicle and understanding like what you're looking at, being, although it's not the same, because these cars all come from the motorsport or the racing derivative of the manufacturer. So it's, I think where you find road racing to be so intriguing is, depending on the classification, you can do spec racing, which is all the cars are the same on the circuit. So it does come down to the driver. The teams obviously have a really big proponent of the success of the car and the driver, but when it's spec racing, it really comes down to how gosh darn good a driver is. And then in multi-class racing or multi-manufacturer racing, there's a variety. And so you have like balance of performance with the vehicles, depending on the drivers, depending on whether it is an endurance race or it's a sprint format. So there's a lot of like variables that go into motorsports in the different calibers of racing. And, road racing being probably one of the most successful industries. And you see a lot of NASCAR drivers, you see a lot of IndyCar drivers. Shoot, you even see Formula One drivers coming to the IMSA category of professional sports car road racing. And Mazda MX-5 Cup, which I own a team in, for a long time I was for a long time I was the only female owner in the country. And I'm actually proud to say now that there are several female owners, and two of which are in the Mazda MX-5 Cup, which is, why we're promoting. We have this awesome, television series going out on Prime Video for it called First to the Finish. But it highlights particularly women in the industry, and our journeys, our successes, our struggles along the way. It's a docu-series, so there's drama. It's very like it's a very fast series, pun intended. And, it's showcasing, for example, like my life. I'm a business owner. I'm a team owner and principal. I own a professional racing speed shop. I'm also a mother of two. So juggling it all, as women know, especially women, women carry or wear a lot of hats and carry a lot of roles, and we manage to get it done. And sometimes it's the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. But we're the strength in the characters of this show, and the female characters in the show are super inspiring. And you don't even, Donna, like, for example, Boardwalk Pictures did the production for our show, First to the Finish. And they also did Cheer, you might have seen on Netflix. And I'm not a cheerleader, nor do I watch cheerleading, but you don't have to, it's one of those it's a documentary that just grabs you in and gets you addicted to the series, and you want to know like what's next, and you want to see if there's a season 2. And so, and like cheer did that for me, a sport that, I had no zero knowledge on. And after watching this, I actually know quite a bit about cheerleading, and it's the same for First to the Finish. People are really going to enjoy it.
Well, they say once a rah-rah, always a rah-rah. So the fact
Do they
that
say
I grew
that?
up-
Yes.
So the fact that I grew up to be a cheerleader for brands, people, and causes, Shea, is because I was
Yes.
a cheerleader. I still
Yes,
have great
ma'am.
calves, and I think it's because of cheering 4 years in high school or whatever. But I do agree with you. It's like the challenge of being all that we possibly can be. And Vanderbilt Parkway is literally like 2 miles from where I live. I'm up in, I'm on that road all the time, which is the original raceway, right? So I celebrate all that you are, all that you're doing. I think you're a great role model for people. The series that's coming up, it looks really good, looks really interesting. And it's not just for, females to watch females. It's like
No, most definitely.
there's something in it for everybody. Because I was looking at some of the feedback, I guess, on social media when I was doing my research and stuff. And there's always going to be like these negative people that want to say something like horrid or whatever. Because lately,
Sure.
those are the things that on social media seem to be going viral. But this is something good that can go viral, right? There's already been
Most
I think
definitely.
60,000 people that have watched the trailer, and so I'm excited for you. It's going to be something that I'll definitely be tuning into.
All drivers to your board!
The MX-5 Cup is the absolute pinnacle of action at the racetrack.
We are starting a new era of racing.
We gotta show the boys what's up. I'm not just driving to be the best girl driver. I'm racing to win.
It's the ultimate challenge.
The first 6 years of my career, I was the only woman.
It's a lot of pressure, but when the helmet goes on, nothing else matters.
Being a team owner, I manage everything. I'm not your mom, I'm your boss.
I have to fight every instinct of fear.
Oh my God!
It's consumed my life.
I haven't slept in 5 years.
I'm capable of winning. It's not like these guys are Superman.
Turns out we know what we're doing.
You need to do anything that it takes.
Oh my God!
It's exhausting for all the right reasons.
Into, but I also just wanted to feature not just that series, but also just wanted to feature you as a person and all the things that you've
you.
done and you've accomplished and that you continue to accomplish. You're a great role model to your children. You're doing it. It was nice to meet you in person. I particularly noticed, Shea, after you came off the stage, after you were speaking, how kind you were to everybody. Where you
thank
could
you.
let celebrity or the fact that you're a champion racer, go to your head. You haven't done that. You're the exact same, person. They even title you sometimes the girl next door. You are definitely still that girl next door, Shea, which makes you so endearing to people. And I'm happy for you. I'm happy for your success, right? It
Donna,
seems
thank
like
you.
you
So
have.
kind.
You're welcome. It seems like you have your priorities in the right order, and it's not easy to be a career person and a spouse and a mom and all these things, but you're doing it, and you're doing it in such a great way that I just was so excited to have you on the show. I just was like, you know what? Your story is a good story, right? It's going to inspire other people, no
Thank
matter
you
where
so
they
much.
are in their journey.
Actually, I appreciate that so much. Those are such kind words. And, I realized actually what I didn't realize for a long time, but I had a friend of mine, maybe 6 years ago, say something to me that really made me realize wow, this is a superpower that I have. And she said, you can go into a room and leave that room and make all those people feel like you're their best friend. And I took that really to heart, and I realized life is, in our careers, motherhood, as partners, friends, investors, whatever it might be, the human interest in finding who is in your circle and taking care of people in your circle, and at times even putting them before you put yourself, it always comes back twofold. It's great karma. And I came from a wonderful family. I also came from a very much like female dominated family, and I think they really taught me like just the enduring and empathy and just pushing to be the best that you can. And I definitely consider myself like a business maverick because I started a company on $1. I invested just like your show, Donna. I mean, I took everything, invested everything into my business, and am able to not only take care of my family, but also help take care of other families and employees and contractors that work for us. We're small but mighty, and it's just it's a blessing. I've had an amazing career in 34 years. I've packed a lot in, and I have new dreams and aspirations. This is very much kind of like a pivoting year for me, the success of hopefully the show, and just things that I want to do and achieve for not just my business and my family, but for the people that we help support.
It does feel good to be able to put people to work. Like when I was telling you, and my audience knows, some of my audience knows, but yeah, I dreamt the TV show in color. I woke up one day, I sold everything I own. I didn't look back. I had a little more to start with though. I actually not even borrowed, 10, it was way before Kickstarter, 10 female friends each gave me $100, and that was my seed money. I started like in 2008 with $1,000, to help pay for like a theme song and a little bit of this and a logo.
I love that.
But starting a business and being an entrepreneur, you can start a company with very little or nothing. It's just doing it. It's just like waking up every day and having those goals. And I brought my shoes because you said we met at the Female Founders Collective Day, right? And like, speaking of entrepreneurs and cool women, okay, so these are my new sneaks that I got from Sarah. So the coolest thing is that, also she started just by like, when she started Spanx, all she did was like, cut something out of the pantyhose that she had and tried to figure out a better way around things, right? So we are here today just to be hopefully an inspiration for other people to follow their dreams, to be resourceful, that you can do it. You can start with nothing, and it's just giving yourself a permission slip to thrive, right? So when you drive, I just have to ask you this. So when you get in a regular car and you're driving, right? Do you ever just want to go faster? Do you ever want to just be like, oh,
That I had a little bit of a speeding streak pre-children, but I'll tell you, kids do change you in some ways. Now when I get to an intersection, I probably look 3 more times than I ever would have. So yeah, I mean, I will say I used to be a little bit of a backseat driver. I have a hard time being a passenger. A great story, actually. This is years ago. I was probably 17, so I had just gotten my racing license. And I was driving with my aunt, and I guess I was tailgating. And my aunt said to me, like, gosh, Shea, can you get any closer? And I looked at her point blank and was like, yeah, do you want me to get any closer? And she's like, no, you're tailgating. Like, you're already tailgating. You're close enough. And so, so yeah, I mean, certainly, I there's a lot of critiquing of other people's driving on a regular street, but not everybody is as experienced as I am behind the wheel. So
yeah, sometime I would love to take a little trip with you. I'll be the passenger though. It was a joy and a delight to celebrate you. I know you're going to be on a big media tour these next couple of days. Thank you so sincerely for, making the time to stop by my show. It was fun to talk to you, fun to know you. If there's anything I can ever do for you, don't hesitate to reach out, but you're the best. I'm really, really so happy for you.
Oh, back at you, Donna. You've been so great. And you were the first to pull me aside after the Female Founders Day to say, I need you on the show ASAP. And so Thank you for making this happen, and, your production team. And I'm so excited to continue to follow your career and your show. And we'll have to get you out to a race. Maybe we have to promote. We'll promote like our next event. Actually, our next event will be, so the show will air on March 25th. on Prime Video, again, called First to the Finish. And then our next event is mid-April. I want to say it's about the 15th, and it's at Barber Motorsport Park. Our series is called the Mazda MX-5 Cup, in the best way, honestly, to get, just indulge and get yourself into our world of racing. YouTube, put in YouTube Mazda MX-5 Cup and watch some of the races. It's like playing chess. It's like you're boxing. It's fast cars. It's insane. So, MX5 Cup is very entertainment-based racing. So from the viewer, a fan, a spectator, it's highly interesting. And I have a very winning team. So I have stacked my roster this year, and we are in an industry where performance is important, and winning is important. And I have also invested a lot in my team this year to make sure that we're at the top step of the podium. So far we have already won some major events, and we're going after a championship to win actually $250,000. So pretty incredible. Mazda's that's right. Mazda's a pretty incredible company to work for and to come and race with. So we got to get you out to a racetrack, Donna.
There you go. Go Mazda. Here, I'll give you a little cheer, right? Mazda, yay!
Woo, I like it. I like it. Move and be moved.
There you go.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Yes, move and be moved. Take care. Nice to meet you again, Shea. Bye-bye.
You too.